Didn't you see what I put up? No, you're not on Twitter. I
browse sometimes.
Dude, get off Twitter, because the people from your Twitter come to my channel to fuck you. That's how terrible they are. Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
We all sing
Put his
the
name on the list.
Okay. Cut that part out.
All right. Now
Editor.
All right. Welcome back to another very, very special episode of the Tom Storey Show. This is the Avengers Assemble episode.
Oh my god.
We called him from all corners of the country.
Darryl
From
and
all
TK
I love
from
it.
the #1 Canadian real estate podcast, the Canadian Real Estate Show, are here.
It should be true.
It's up there.
I think it
Whether
might
or not
be.
it's
It
like
should
a
be
real list
true.
or
What
What do
not.
you call
I
it?
mean,
The number one Canadian real estate podcast
That they
on
host?
at 4 o'clock on Sundays? Is that what you were calling it?
That is in
100%.
fact the case.
100%.
That is
No
in fact
competition.
true. I
No
can
competition.
prove it. I swear.
I'm so excited to have you guys here because the thumbnail is just going to have Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, and a nuclear bomb for no reason.
For no reason,
For no
right?
reason
and an
at
arrow pointing down. That's, we got away from that. It
Just
doesn't
before
work.
we get started, we want to give a shout out to D. Trent.
Yes.
Welcome to the
Everybody's-
comments, D. Trent. Just want to say hi, let you know that we're thinking of you.
Yeah. We got
Thanks for
something
helping us
special.
grow the
We
channel.
got something special for you at the end of this episode, so stay
Yeah,
tuned.
you got to stay
Stay
tuned.
tuned
I
till
like
the
that.
end.
Nice hook, yeah.
What's going on, guys? This is awesome.
Yeah, we get to meet in person
The
finally.
worlds
Hanging out
collide.
downtown. Great little pocket of the neighborhood here.
Yeah.
It's
Easy to
nice
get to, actually.
Yeah.
Like I drove from the edge of Toronto.
Okay.
Like I'm literally the
East
other
Edge or West Edge?
west edge of
Okay.
Toronto, like Dufferin and Steeles. And it took
Okay.
like half an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm the east edge. I'm like Port Union, Lawrence, like the farthest southeast corner of the city. So
Yeah.
easy access, no problem.
Yeah.
There's no like marathons or anything
You
going
should
on
have seen
today.
my
So
Uber
it was
trying to
good.
get here.
Yeah.
It was
If
a
there's
He
something
was
going
losing
on,
his mind yesterday.
this-
in his
Really?
Uber. Oh, yeah.
Why?
anything
From where?
downtown stuff.
From
From the
Pearson.
airport.
Mm.
It was something
Should've
else.
taken
He
the Up
started taking
Express.
lefts and rights, and I'm like, this Uber says to go straight. And he starts, no, there's construction up here. Oh, it was a whole thing.
You didn't mention Tom's name? That's
Dude,
what I do.
I texted
That's
Tom.
why they thought he was
Whenever,
Tom.
Anywhere I go,
It
I'm
was
just
like
like, do you guys
Princess
know
Diana.
Tom Storey? And usually gets me to the front of the line.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
serious.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
haven't tried that.
Try it,
I
yeah,
should
it's
say
good.
I'm TK.
I don't know. It depends on where you go.
Back
I
of
get, I get
line.
nowhere
some-
with this name.
Back
Might
of
get
the
some
line
credit.
immediately.
Back
Yeah.
of the line.
So what's going on, guys? What's up with this crazy real estate market?
Trying to buy land, man.
Are you trying to buy land right
like
now?
desperately
Should we set
trying
up-
to buy land?
Do you think our audience totally like intermingles? Do you think everybody knows?
Maybe we should make a little
There's a couple.
introduction
There's
of how
probably
we
at
know
least
each
14
other, right?
people who watch our channel and also yours.
Well, we only have
But you guys-
14 subs, so
Yeah,
that's
so-
probably
and they've
crazy.
got like 10 times more than us. I think you've got like at least a handful.
Oh no! On the
more.
podcast channel, we're trying to crack 1,000.
Yeah,
we're,
okay.
we're new, right?
You're
We're
close.
just
You're
trying to
close.
build it
won't
up,
be-
and
it's gonna go beyond us. I can guarantee that. Okay, like that's okay. We're happy
wouldn't
for you
doubt
guys.
that,
That's a good
so
accomplishment.
how do we all know each other? So you guys have been running your show now for how long?
Since the
June.
P word started, like May or June
June
of
2020. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
June of 2020, and I think I've been on your show 3 times at least.
Handful of
Maybe
times.
live,
Maybe.
but you've been mentioned probably, almost every episode. Or we've talked
Hashtag
about
Tom
you by
Storey.
accident. Or, yeah.
Right. Trying
And
to steal
then
your subs.
You guys got to know Steve as well. It's working. I hope it's working. And then Steve's been on what? At least 1 or 2 episodes plus a few like live stream
Live,
things.
yeah.
Live stream
Yeah.
plus 1, not that I'm counting.
Live stream plus 1.
And then
Gonna
yeah,
make-
now like all our friends are doing it, and like Nolan came on, and it's cool how like we are all now associating with the same people, right?
It's really interesting.
It's like a circle. It's like a group of people who are all like-minded.
Yeah.
We don't really have like, even though there's competition to everyone like grow their channels on and stuff, we all want each other to do well, and we
Yeah.
all support each other by going on each other's shows and channels and commenting and everything. Because the more people paying attention to Canadian real estate on YouTube is better for all of us, right? So it's been great.
I think
yeah.
it's nice to show that we're not just the typical real estate agent. Well, you're not a real estate agent, Darryl, but
It's
for the
nice
rest
to
of
have
us,
a
Yeah.
non-realtor here. Actually,
for the
Yeah.
for the
Makes
rest
a
of us,
difference.
it's just nice that like other people are seeing that it's not just like sales jam deals together,
Yes.
right? Like there is more conversation involved in the whole end of things, right?
Exactly.
Like it's not just what people think the industry is.
It's
Yeah.
nowhere close to what the people
That's
think
probably
it
true.
is.
But even the
right?
relationships between realtors, right? So that's another big thing too, is everyone, some offices or some environments or whatever, it's very competitive and stuff, and people don't get to collaborate as much. So when they can see people working together, even in the same markets, it's just like, okay, wow, like this is actually like a profession. It's not just like a hey,
that's
dog
even-
eat dogs type of thing.
That's why
right?
Steve's here. Like, we're going to a conference all next week for 3 days, which we've been going to for the last, you've been going
10
for like
years.
10 years. I've been 7 years.
Yeah.
And some of my best friends in the industry I've met throughout this platform.
Yeah.
And it's almost weird to me when I connect with someone. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Because everyone else I talk to, we tell each other everything we're doing.
Exactly.
And I feel like people maybe on the outside don't really know that a lot of the people that are actually doing most of the market share
Yeah.
are willing to share what's working with all the other people.
Exactly.
Like,
We-
it's
That's
not
why
as
they get the
competitive.
market share.
yeah. We
Because
under-
they're giving it away, and they're
Exactly.
just. I mean, people. There's a reason why the same people I think all kind of are in the circle, and
Yeah.
it's because, at least in my opinion, like you guys provide me with value. Like I'm actually learning from you guys. I watch your channels.
Yeah.
So when we started a channel, it just kind of made sense to gravitate towards you guys to talk to you if you were willing, right? At the beginning, like nobody was really willing,
Yeah.
right? Nobody.
How long did that take to get people to now? Because now I'm sure you're getting people saying to you, hey, I want to come on your show.
Well, I mean, at the beginning, I don't know. It wasn't that no one was willing. It was people that we wanted on the show weren't willing, and
Yeah.
the people that were willing, like, probably wouldn't have been good for the show.
there was
right?
always people reaching out even from the beginning,
Okay.
and it was like sketchy. It was like no,
Because they're
And
trying to
then
sell something or talk about something that they're doing.
The
or-
best are these.
Uninteresting.
It's like a long letter where it's like somebody's personal assistant. So it's like, Mr. Jones has been running his organization for the last 20 years, and Mr. Jones says all these things. We're like,
yeah.
all right, Mr. Jones, like, see you later. I don't even know what they're trying to sell me.
So that guy emails me too.
Everybody.
There's a bunch of them.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
a bunch of different ones.
Yeah,
for
and
different
it's like
prices.
for short videos,
There's
for
Oh my
SEO
God.
campaigns.
It's funny
like a
how
whole-
the email address that it's coming from isn't
Yeah.
the assistant at MrJones.com. It's like Mr. Jones at MrJones.com.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't even have an assistant, but I'm just going to.
100%. That's what it
At
is.
this
You
point,
called
it's
it.
like literally 2 emails a day I'm getting of someone saying, let me cut up your videos into short clips, or
Yeah,
or
always.
basically, essentially, your YouTube channel sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
fix it.
It could be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be better.
That's on YouTube.
Which is always
again?
true.
Just as emails, though.
Just
like
as
coming
emails.
into my inbox,
Yeah.
where it's people,
Yeah, we get them
that
all
added
the
to
time,
all the
Yeah,
other
the
things
time.
that they try to sell realtors that we get into our inbox. Like these days, I'm literally just unsubscribing every single day from things. I'm like, I didn't sign up for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. Lately, I've been getting more of that. Have you guys noticed more?
from realtors.
Yeah, just more
Well,
everything.
I'm
Just-
getting a lot of stuff from people.
How
So-
are you getting on their list?
I want to know what,
I don't
from
know.
a developer side of things right now.
Yeah.
What the hell? Because we're looking at it from like helping people facilitate the transaction. You're like an active buyer and seller, right? Or, well,
Buyer,
whatever
at
side of that
least.
you're doing right now. Say you're an active buyer right now.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the question though? For me, like I come at this market from different angles. Like developers definitely one, but I'm on the marketing side of things too, and like pre-construction sales. So I'm lucky enough, and I deal with TK all the time, and talk to realtors all the time through the show. So I have like a pretty interesting perspective on the market. So what is the
So why are
question
you trying to
exactly?
buy land in a market that is decreasing in value and everyone's scared and every headline is that we're going to crash? Why are you trying to buy right
Exactly
Okay.
for that reason.
now? Okay.
Right? Because everybody else isn't buying right now, and people are definitely scared right now. And there might be some good deals, but I mean,
And you said at the beginning you were frustrated. You were trying to buy. Why have you not? Is it because there's just nothing to choose from? Like what's going on the land side of things?
no, there's more deals than ever. But
Okay.
sellers, I don't think, have come down to reality with with rates and where things have to be.
Yeah.
Like, for example, TK and I are working on a downtown assembly, and it's a listing. And we basically we gave them an offer. We got a sign back that made no sense. Gave them another offer, basically what they wanted, and then we can't get a sign back. Not even can't get a sign back. Like it feels like the agent has lost interest.
So that's from your perspective. Now,
Yeah.
from the agent side, are you getting poor communication back? Or is it just like, is the other agent on the other side like really trying to get the deal
any
together?
situation that a seller's in right now is difficult, right? Because they're not getting the price that they want,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether they think it's worth more than what it's actually worth or not, but they're not getting the price that they want,
we
and that
went in
becomes
and asking now.
well, that's obviously not what they want, right? So like that's
Right.
what you have to look at, right? So
Right.
you have to just that's perspective on the investment side. Like if you guys follow any of the commercial multifamily stuff, like investment properties, where cap rates are and what the asking prices are, there's like one sale in the last 3 months in all of Toronto for like commercial multifamily. Like nothing's moving.
Is that
Yeah.
because the sellers are just being stubborn?
Exactly.
And they're not going to come down.
They're asking like 3.5 caps, and right now the interest rates that you're getting are all like 6+.
On commercial deals, can you take over mortgages easier than you could on residential? Like, can you take like
depends on your balance sheet.
calls it like sexy debt, right? Is that possible?
100%. Yeah, there's like especially like
It's
CMHC
possible.
financing and stuff. It's assumable, and that's obviously a lot
That would
more
be-
favorable.
yeah.
Right, like low interest
If you
rates,
qualify.
long term.
Like you have to qualify, and then I mean, when markets change like they're changing, it's a little harder to qualify. Plus, they would probably prefer to get out of that loan and into a new loan right now, anyways. So at the end of the day, it's up to the lender whether it transfers. It's not like you can just sell the piece of paper and
the
it
CMHC
goes.
ones are easier, but you're right. The other lenders and stuff like that will be
Probably
harder
just
to
want out
qualify.
anyways.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, they're holding a 2 or 3% mortgage. That's
Who do you
Not
go
ideal.
to for financing for big projects? Like you don't have to necessarily
It
say who, but it's
depends.
not like big banks. It's not like you're walking into
no.
TD.
well,
and being
alleyways.
like,
There's a few alleyways by here that
When
I
I-
think some of Darryl's
when I-
lenders were.
When I pulled up, I saw a few of them along the way. Yeah, wherever you can get it from. No, but B lenders for sure. B lenders, not A's. A's. Listen, when you're buying land for twice as much as it's worth on its own. So when you're putting an assembly together, for example, and you're putting together 6 houses that on their own are worth 1.6, but together you figure maybe could be worth 3 million each, right? If everybody comes together.
Yeah.
Great, you can pay them all, but like, how do you finance it now, right? So, and then in today's environment, it's even harder. So you're not going to an A bank, you're going to a B lender who deals with this kind of thing and can see, or at least like sees your story, your vision, and can sell it to other people, right?
If A lenders are now at 5%, what are B lenders at?
Scary, stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, like you can't make a deal
Prime-
work, and this
Prime
is the
plus
thing.
4.5.
Really?
What's prime? 5 something?
Five.
Yeah, like at least, and
So it's
you
an
have to
8,
be
9,
a strong.
10% rate.
And these are
And
like
you're borrowing-
multi-million-dollar loans. Like these are not cheap loans.
And they're 55-60% loan to value because your value is bullshit, right? You're starting off with an inflated value. It's not like you're buying a house for what it's worth and you're going for an LTV, right?
Yeah, what is that?
It's totally different. So now you need cash, like lots of fucking cash from everywhere. Can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Have I
We're
done
not-
it already?
We'll find
we're
out.
not at 1,000
out.
yet, so we haven't.
I don't know what any of
You
these
said you
words.
got demonetized.
I don't know what these words mean, but
That's right.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
okay.
maybe
Don't
explain
use
that to
them
me.
ever. Sorry.
No, it's actually those words don't do as bad as the P word and the C word, right?
And
Right.
the
I don't
one
use those. I don't think.
Actually, we had a few episodes that have gone down because of things that have happened over the last couple of years and their viewing rate, but it's another.
That's our issue.
Another.
That's why we're-
My brain's
we're stuck
working
on
I'm
14.
thinking about all the words I know that start with those letters. So
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
those ones.
It's not the ones
not
would
the ones.
traditionally be. We didn't even know they existed previous to 2 years ago. This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Lendlord. If you've not heard of Lendlord, it is a software platform designed for real estate investors. It helps you easily track your portfolio and get reminders when things like rent and utility payments are due. But the best feature and my most favorite feature of the entire platform is something called a deal analyzer. This is where you, as a real estate investor, can log into the software, plug in your future potential purchase, and the system quickly comes up with important information like cap rate, cash on cash return, and even future potential values. It's a totally free software, but listeners of the Tom Storey Show can get 90 days of the upgraded paid version right now totally for free by either clicking the link down below in the description or going to lendlord.io/TomShow. And if you're a real estate agent and you're not using this software to quickly and efficiently analyze deals for your clients, well, I think you're doing your clients a disservice. Download Lendlord today for a quick and easy way for you to analyze not only your own future purchases, but those of your clients. So again, that's lendlord.io/TomShow to sign up right now, and listeners of the Tom Storey Show receive 90 days of the paid version totally for free. I have tried this software myself. I think it's fantastic and extremely useful as a real estate investor. Sign up today. That's lendlord.io/TomShow. And now back to the podcast.
Yeah.
So when you're, I'm going to get on to your favorite topic. How do you appraise? How does that appraise out? How does that work? How does that deal work?
We're doing a
if it
video
makes
course
no
on this.
sense?
Steve. He's trying to get all the information out of you for free here.
Sure.
Right
Yeah,
now,
no,
okay, for
that's fair.
$69.99,
Give it away.
right?
That's right.
Video
bump up the
courses.
price.
should
Developer
Three
101.
payments of $69.99
Easy
per
payments.
year. Yeah.
There you go.
Developer for dummies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
What
buy
was the
that.
question?
People would buy that.
I know.
How
We're
do you
working on it.
how
We're
do
working on
you get these deals together? Obviously, that's a pretty broad question that makes no sense. But how does that whole thing work where you're honestly trying to go in and get multi-million-dollar properties that are, like you say, on paper, not worth to an end user what they are to you?
Yeah.
How does that whole thing come together? Do you just need TK and the right broker to kind of jam the whole thing together? Like, or how much do you go over your
TK's
numbers?
useless in that situation. You can have the best broker in the world, and it can't do anything for you. It's the financing side. That's what his expertise is in, is getting the financing for it.
But even before that,
And
you
like,
have
you have to
convince
have
6
balls.
homeowners
There's
to
a lot
sell
of
their
stuff.
home
That too,
for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the balls that you have to have to go through everything, not just the knowledge, but the balls. Like if knowledge was enough, we'd all be billionaires and have 6-packs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the knowledge,
I don't
right?
have
It's
a
the
6-pack.
guts to being able to go through the steps to be able to get there and to really have the courage to do it. And that's, I think, why Darryl's been able to do what he does, right?
A little bit of stupidity has to be, like, you have to have some faith, right? Like, you got to be a little crazy to go ahead with these things. But I mean, practice helps, and some experience and a lot of reading. And you would be surprised to hear it come out of my mouth, but like a lot of listening, right? Like I need to hear what everybody wants.
I would be surprised.
You would be surprised, but I actually have to listen a lot and find out what everybody wants to give it to them, because if you don't give everybody what they want, it falls apart every time.
You've obviously done this several times in the past.
Yeah.
Now, looking at today's environment, is it much more difficult now than it was in the past? Or has it always been difficult? It's just new hurdles now.
It's very interesting right now. Like I said, like I've never gone out and given people what they wanted and not got a sign back before. Like that's really weird, right? And this is happening on a lot of stuff, not just the one that I'm talking about, like many.
There's also more capital right now, though. Like,
There's so much capital
much-
chasing deals ready
Yeah.
for somebody to say, like, I got one, I got a good one.
Yeah.
And but the guys that are trying to catch the good ones are like a little reluctant now, because I think most people probably think like there might be better ones in a few months.
Right. Which there may be, and there may
might
not
be,
be. Who
yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Well, so you know, people say, why do you want to catch a falling knife? But like, there's a lot of degrees of depth that you can catch this
Maybe you
knife
caught it at
right?
the top of the knife, and it was just about to hit the floor.
But
Who
but if
said
you,
that? Foch said that on one of the last shows we did. He says there's more risk in buying in a rising market
Yes,
than there is in a
100,
falling market.
yes.
And I never thought about it like that. I think it was brilliantly articulated. It's because on the way up, right, you might be the peak because
Yeah.
you know it's going up. You might be the peak, but on the way down, you know you're not the peak because it's already behind you.
Right.
And so there's actually less risk by buying in a falling market, which, you know,
But
that's such
obviously
realtor talk. But
the
you know,
consumer
like-
hasn't decided that yet based on the sales numbers. Like
No.
we're seeing 40%, 50% lower sales.
Yep.
And, you know, in the cluster that I sell a lot of condos, and it's like the last 2 months prices actually went up. And I'm telling my clients, like, it means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's 50% less sales. If you're using average price, this is unfair. Like
Yeah.
there's not enough data to work with. So
point.
even though, yes, looking now long term, I just put out a video and it was like I quoted Warren Buffett where it's like, if you're not going to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. I'm like, that's probably the same way you should think about real estate.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from what Darryl's telling me is that like the capital's ready to jump in. They want to find opportunities. Anyone with cash is like licking their chops right now.
but we're all.
But
like,
you're the first ones to show the confidence that the consumers buying their family home aren't there yet.
Well, but I'm a leading indicator. They're a lagging indicator, right? So, I mean, the crazies that go in now will set hopefully a floor or find good deals. I mean, this doesn't. My exit isn't for at least 2 to 3 years, right?
Right.
So things are going to
That's
be
a big factor,
very
too.
different
Yeah.
then. So I have the luxury of like, even if I get sliced on the way down, I put an assembly together, it pushes value up, right? I put an application in for development, pushes value up. So even if the market's kind of working against me, maybe I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then I can figure out the next thing when the market's different, right? But cash is the only thing right now that is going to make a deal pencil out, or some ridiculously creative terms that equate to like free money.
I don't think a lot of people appreciate. I mean, I definitely don't. Most of what I do is resale, right?
Sure.
Like residential resale.
Yeah.
I walked kind of backwards into a land assembly in, I think, 2016 and assembled like 15 acres. And I was just like over the moon. Everything went great. Developer, everything went fantastic. And then I was approached because my name was on one of the sales was on MLS. The others weren't. I was approached by a guy. Hey, my guy's looking for land like this. So they brought us basically, well, they didn't bring us an offer on paper, but it got pretty heated, the discussions. And then when I was like, that number is insane compared to what my guy paid for it. Like, that is nuts. So I brought it to my guy, and he's like, this is less than half of the appraisal that we have currently on the property. Like, beat it, pal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just...
And you're like, what?
And
how's that possible, right?
And in my mind, I'm like, this has gone up perfectly with the residential market. Like, you should be laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you don't understand how
planning and everything else.
Anything works.
It's great. Like, it's a 15-acre site, man.
Yeah.
That's not small potatoes, right?
Yeah. And that's why I think, people are like Darryl are out there are in business, is because the average person doesn't know that information, right? And that's what, is allowing you to be able to do what you do. If everybody knew, then it would just be like,
unless you're the last piece in the land assembly, then you're worth more than the whole land assembly combined, right? that linchpin, right?
Yeah.
That one owner that's like that one owner that's like, no, everybody else is sold. I'm going to hold out.
Yeah,
but that's on everyone.
There's a few around me where the town, like where I am, townhouse complexes are most prevalent, and it's just like there's the single detached house townhouse complex is just done around it because that guy held out like a dummy, and now he's worth.
It's happening
zero.
right now.
My uncle was
across
that
from
guy.
my office. We've seen it forever as they were doing it, and they're all boarded up. And there's the one house on the end that they just cut and then repainted the side of the house for them, and they're about to start building beside
Peter Street or no?
There's that is Richmond.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Okay,
it's a purpose-built rental building going up, but there's one at the end that just...
It's like they cut it in half. It's just sitting there, and it's like clearly boarded up and everything like that.
No, but sometimes you leave them out on purpose. You don't even want them. They're a good buffer between you and the next building.
True.
So it's like they didn't even decide to be screwed. They got screwed out of creativity.
Yeah, most of the time, though, it would be because they were...
A lot of time, I mean, if you look at like One Bluer or if you look at Honest Ed's, like they're carving around stuff. And they definitely tried like really hard to get them.
Street downtown. That's like the half house in between the condos. Yeah.
But even if you don't have people that like don't want to move. So I put a deal together. I worked on a deal at 50 Schollard. And even though we owned all the properties, or the owner owned all the properties, part of the deal was that we had to like move one of the houses because it was heritage.
Like
historic, pick up the house and move it and then build around it.
Isn't every house in Toronto heritage? These things are like
just
a billion years old.
No, but they're like if you
districts and stuff, and we've actually designated houses.
Entertainment district is like just all heritage.
In Surrey, the guys are blowing down 30-year-old houses. They're like, get rid of these old pieces of shit.
There's a property on Richmond Street, 229 Richmond. It's a big parking lot right across from the RioCan Cineplex Center there.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a heritage site, and it has...
Well, that's where they show like the movies in the summer, and you can sit out there.
Maybe. It became like picnic tables. Yeah.
I walked by it yesterday.
So it... what was I saying?
It's a heritage
it's a heritage designation, and there's like a parking attendant booth on it. Like that's a heritage site in Toronto.
What happened there? Something special at one point? 200 years ago?
Probably just the area itself, right? So they just have like blanket designations for like whole area, Cabbagetown, different areas.
The whole area got blanketed.
Why do every house when they can just say, all right, forget it. This whole street we want to control what
slow down
design looks like and everything else. Yeah,
it's like the ultimate NIMBY people, right?
The city.
No, but it stems from associations of NIMBYs or crazies who love heritage and like want to keep it.
I wanted to ask you guys. So recently we had Tim Hudak on this podcast, and we got really into the weeds on. Obviously, we asked about mortgage fraud because we had to, and got his response on that. And then we talked about the Build More Homes Faster plan, which Ford announced recently. Does that solve things here?
That was yesterday's episode.
Does it solve things?
Does it make things better than they were?
For who?
That's a good question.
Well, it depends. That's part of the question. So
we had a big debate. We had a debate over this yesterday because there's so many factors, right? So it's like developers benefit who already own the land.
Yes.
Right? The immigrants who are coming here are going to benefit because there's going to be more housing.
More rental options as well if they turn them into triplexes, duplexes.
That's where it may help a little bit.
We asked Hudak, and I said, does it count when you say 1.5 million homes is the goal in the next decade for Ontario? Is a garden suite a home? He's like, if you can own it, then it is.
If you can own it or rent it.
What I was confused on when I thought about that after is like, do they mean homes as separate titles? Because a garden suite's not
like a one-bedroom condo.
Just like, somewhere where someone can live.
That's a home. It's a unit. It's in the sky.
Legally,
so a legal 2 or 3 unit property or anything like that. So these are all creating
Because
dwellings.
like where I am in the suburbs,
Yeah.
most homes have a basement suite,
Yeah.
right? And now, depending on the size of the home, they'll have 2 or 3 or 4.
Well,
Yeah.
because they have to afford that mortgage out there.
But the home's not designated.
What's the average
as
price
in
a
Surrey?
triplex.
It's
a
all
single
done,
family home with
no
a-
permits.
no retro.
Okay, so that doesn't count.
Well, that won't stop here. That'll
That's most
actually
we have that
basements
too.
in Toronto.
Yeah,
that'll
we have that
increase
too.
here because it'll be harder to tell like who's working on what because there'll be construction on
Yeah.
lots of stuff. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's cool that you're going to have the opportunity maybe to build, instead of a monster house and jam something in the basement, you're going to have the opportunity to build like 3 proper units.
Absolutely.
Right. So you can actually have maybe if you can go 3 stories, you can get 3 bedroom kind of bungalows stacked on top of each other, where before you had to build a monster house and then just maybe like they limited the size of our basement suites where I am to 750 square feet.
Mhm.
So the upstairs house is 4,500 square feet and you have to have a 750 square foot and that's all
That's
you can
weird.
do. It's
Yeah.
like,
Kinda
why
stupid,
why can't the whole basement be the suite? Why can't you have a 1,700 square foot basement suite? Can't do it.
Yeah.
Because somebody decided that they thought that was the case, and they rallied
big
enough
enough.
troops
Yeah.
to get enough ears,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some idiot like put
There-
it into law.
There's a few areas.
That was no small effort, by the way, probably for someone to get that
Oh,
done.
yeah.
Right.
There's a few areas in Surrey and in North Delta where I am where the neighbors all got together and they restricted the building size, right? Because they didn't want these monster houses built.
Mhm.
Well, what they ended up doing, so they got all the neighbors together, they protested, they got the zoning changed, so you can only build a 2,700 square foot house, period, including basement, everything. So these are 7,000 square foot lots, so pretty small house. What that did was that
Restricted the
immediately
value.
devalued
Yeah.
their properties,
Mhm.
and
Or
it
put a
crushed,
ceiling on
so
it.
it crushed their values. And then what happened? Investors were like, "Well, those are all cheap." They started buying them up, and it's only a matter of time before enough investors are in there
rezoned.
that they're going to go, "Screw this! This is all investors. Let's rezone this stuff." And
Yeah.
so all it did was the owners screwed themselves, right? It's just
Some developments have restrictive covenants like that, where you'll want someone to have like conformity, right? So they want everyone to have a certain type of house, maybe no bungalows or no semis
Right.
or whatever, and that'll be like on the title for that subdivision to be built a certain way. So maybe they did it that way. It's like we have it here in Ontario too, but
It
to
was-
restrict the size in just an already constructed area,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever happened.
Well, this,
Yeah.
I mean, the one particular one I'm thinking of, it was basically in trying to keep out certain ethnicities, right? You have certain people trying to build certain types of homes, and this group got together and said, not in our neighborhood. They
Irish.
changed. They hated it so much. Yeah, we don't want the Irish.
Yeah.
Don't tell my wife she's Irish.
If you were looking at everything from the outside, like you were not from this society, and you were to try and figure out, are they trying to make more houses or are they not trying to
Yeah,
make more houses? What's going on here? Because like the rhetoric is like, we need more, like there's a crisis, like this is bad. We need to get more people in and this and that and this and that. But like, look,
All we
they
see is
restrict it
condos.
to 700. Like, why the fuck
It's always
would they
condos.
restrict it to 750 square feet? No, but why? Okay, why is there an angular plane like on a building at all? I mean, so they'll say because it's nice for the streetscape and for the people walking down the street, but then you look at Europe and it's just all straight right up onto the street. And
Yeah, where we are, you'll have all the ranchers are on the corner,
Mhm.
right? So the one level homes are on the corner, almost exclusively, and then the next house. So you don't have that one big house right beside the street.
But other than market mania, you start to limit what can be done on a property with these stupid rules, right? And you limit not only the amount of money that they're worth, but the amount of inventory that can come on the system when you actually can get a deal done. Because it's like, you see how many deals are done. You have no idea how many don't get done that could get done. And like, we could have a balanced market technically maybe right
Do you think
now.
this could all be a part of just the Canadian market as a whole just kind of blooming from like this tiny, I mean, we were a village country, except for Toronto.
Mhm.
We were like Vancouver in 1986 was a fishing village, basically, right? There was nothing there. And do you
So
think
these
it's
are
just
growing pains
it's
that are
just a
unavoidable.
graduation of
Yeah.
like, hey, you guys are now an international city. This is what we're doing. This is what international cities do. They have housing crises, right? Like I have an uncle that bought he in 1997, I want to say, he went to Hong Kong and lived there for 20 years. He at that time, he says, I got there in 97. I was looking at apartments. They were $2 million Canadian in 97.
Mhm.
He's like,
In
so
Hong
I bought,
Kong? Yeah.
yeah. So he went back to Vancouver, bought a 3-bedroom for $200,000.
This is cheap.
Right. There's like, so
And
he
Canadian
kept,
dollars
Yeah.
to boot, right?
he kept buying Canadian property, renting in Hong Kong, because that's how a lot of international markets work.
Yeah.
Right. I just think there's a chance we're blooming into where a lot of the rest of the world was, the New Yorks and the Londons and everywhere else.
Every time
A
I
lot
say
of those
that,
are land restricted places, though, right? Like it's pretty hard for me to.
We
say,
have land.
Yeah, like this is like we have a serious
and our
issue
restrictions
with
apparently
density.
aren't like real because we just opened up the green belt, right?
Well, that's
Well,
part
we'll
of
see,
it,
right?
But there's
Is that-
other.
Is that for sure? That's
They're
gonna
doing
be
the
fought.
study. They got a study
Okay.
now on it. So, but it
You
seems
guys
like that's
legitimately have land here, though.
We got a
If
lot
you've
of
been
land.
to Vancouver, there's nothing.
But there's nothing there either. Like what happens in Vancouver? Like what does Vancouver produce other than the ability to bring people in and maybe other things that we may not want to get to?
Major port cities, though,
They
usually
produce rain,
always.
I've heard. A lot of rain.
We
I don't
can
know.
produce rain like nobody.
Rain.
does.
foggy
Rain and
weather.
no
Foggy
sunshine.
weather.
No,
Yeah.
but seriously, like I know we
But
have
but
some
Canada as a
industry here
whole-
in Ontario. I don't know what they do in Vancouver. I guess forestry is the big one, and mushrooms and weed.
It was forestry. I wish that took off. That didn't really take off. It's not a great business to be in. I mean, the actual like, is it an oil town? Is it a this town? Is it a that town? No, it's not. It's an international city where business and all the rest of that stuff is happening now. There's mining. There's a ton of mining in BC. There's a ton of forestry in BC. It's coming. I mean, the people against everything say you can't do any of those things anymore. So I don't know what the industries are really going to be. But the amount of people that are flooding to Vancouver is insane. They're all coming to Vancouver, and I don't know what the draw is, because personally, if I wasn't happy in Ontario, I don't know that Vancouver, outside of the weather, is a better option.
No.
Right? Like, it's a beautiful place to be, but when
There's a lot of head offices there, so I'm sure there's jobs. Like, there's a lot of people. Like, I know there's jobs. What I'm saying is, there's jobs there that are like,
Bringing people.
interesting for people to come because it's a big city. So all of a sudden, you need to have 2 head office locations where you can put one in Vancouver and one in Toronto.
But I guess you do
Right?
have
Vancouver's like a big Brampton mortgage, isn't it? Like, isn't it just a big bunch of real estate for the most part? And like overvalued, and next person coming in and for no reason buying the last person.
Vancouver market's not having any trouble really right now. It's us
because
and
they
and
all
the
moved
birds
over.
that are getting smashed.
No, but you even said it in your videos. Like they moved over because of policy to like other provinces, right? You guys were the first to implement like a tax that started pushing everyone to Toronto, and we started heating up, and then I guess your market must have changed after that.
It is. You're our out of town cousin for sure in Vancouver. Because like with the whole non-resident speculation tax or foreign buyers
We
tax,
copy
whatever you call it.
everything that they do.
Yeah,
Eventually.
but they're always like
No, they
like,
tested over there.
if there's anything wrong in the markets, Vancouver always seems to be. Maybe this is like
It's the
biased,
testing ground.
but Vancouver always seems to have it worse. Like whether it's fraud or whether it's like foreign buyers or whether it's multiple offers, like all the weird, crazy things. That's why you guys have all the cancellation terms.
we got the buyer's right of rescission coming in.
Yeah, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Like
Yeah.
it always seems to be Vancouver.
That's because
Vancouver's worse.
the
We're over
tested
here.
them.
We're like Toronto's
we can't
bad.
mess up Toronto.
Vancouver's
that
worse.
bad.
Vancouver's worse.
The
Tested
only
over
At
there.
least if we don't live in Vancouver.
The only way
This is
you can
killing
fix
over
the
here.
market. No, honestly, because
it's how I feel. I could be
Fucking
wrong.
Toronto
the
City.
only way that
Center
they
of the
can
universe.
fix fixing the
Steve
market
knows
is
that.
what? The fixing the market is taxation and more
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Not, hey guys, do you think maybe we should build
Whose answers
houses?
that?
Right? Those are the only 2 things that are done,
That's what's done. Those aren't
right?
the
Because that's the
answers,
only
yeah.
things they can do.
Response.
The government can't build houses. They cannot
they-
fit and if they did, Lord help me, I wouldn't want to live in one. I'm going to spill all the water.
He's getting angry.
I'm getting heated.
Okay, Toronto agents are bad, but have you met the ones in Vancouver?
I can't believe that.
Everybody's
We're knocking over waters everywhere.
back up.
This might be the most heated conversation we've had on this. I hope this thing isn't
But
just
does
redlining on
anywhere,
audio.
I've asked
Yeah.
this many times. Does Canada have a housing problem?
Canada,
think so.
No, I don't think they do. I think
Canada's
Toronto,
not-
Vancouver have a housing
have a
problem.
housing
Yeah.
That's
problem.
because that goes back to, have you ever been to any of the other cities? They're not as awesome. They're honestly not
They're
as
not as
awesome.
awesome.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why they're not as expensive, and less
Yeah.
people go there.
and we need more
But
people.
it's not a
going there.
Canadian thing.
How do we
you
get-
So
This is
of these, every realtor on social media the last few weeks, like 500,000 new immigrants, we're all going to be good, and they're all so excited.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? Probably Toronto, Vancouver.
That's it.
How can we get them to go to Calgary, Edmonton, Nova Scotia, whatever?
Yeah.
We had the Bald Prairie on our
Yeah, yeah.
on our show, and that's where I learned a lot about Saskatchewan actually. But I mean, his mentality was like, stay in your own goddamn province. Do not come and ruin Saskatchewan. We like it how it is.
Yeah, weather's a big thing, right? So it's mild in Vancouver and Toronto. If you look at the world, all the different climates and everything like that, there's not that many that are along that same line that Canada is,
I've
right?
met a lot of people, particularly on the YouTube side, that have come from out of country.
Yeah.
And when they get accepted, they're like, cool, here's where we want you to go. Here's Edmonton, here's Winnipeg, here's Calgary. And if you're coming from Bangalore
most
in India,
places,
right?
Yeah.
You're 45 degrees all year long.
Yeah.
You're not moving to minus 45 degrees all year long.
No way.
So you go there for 6
you have
months and
choice.
you're like, oh, wait, the only place that's above zero is Vancouver? I'm in.
So my immigration papers are based on me living to Edmonton. Okay, yeah, I'll go there. How long do I have to stay?
Yeah.
And then
they're
they'll just
gone.
come to Toronto afterwards. So weather is a big thing. How do we change the weather, Tom? We can't change the weather,
We can figure it out.
you know?
Put all of our minds together.
But that's the issue, right? It just becomes like we're in the hot spot, right? So it's like you have to really just basically brace for this huge overpopulation of Toronto and Vancouver over the next 50 years.
Isn't it great though for the rest of the country that's happening? Because
You would
Calgary-
think that
is
there's
Calgary-
spillover. There
Calgary,
should be.
Edmonton, everybody's going to thrive off of the spillover, right? You have to.
But what's the spillover? Is it people moving there, or is it just investors?
people
'Cause
that
we're
want-
pumping those markets,
No, I'll
Investors,
tell
for
you.
sure.
and that's a problem.
For example, I have a guy that I work with who is in another country. He's overseas and he does some work for me like as a freelance. And he was inquiring like, can you help me come to Canada? But then he started looking at how much it would cost, and he's like, well, I can't come to Toronto on the salary that I would get. And like he just slowly started like going, well, you know what? I can't go to Montreal either, and I don't want to go to Saskatchewan, and I don't want to go to Calgary or Alberta, right? So it's like he had citizenship somewhere else. He went to South Korea, which is the good Korea. He went to the good
South
Korea.
one. I don't think you can even get in the North one.
Right. Well, I don't think you want to, but yeah. So he decided to go to Korea because it was just easier, and he had to get out. He's in Kazakhstan. So he's like, I got to get out of Kazakhstan. Can you help me? But he would go somewhere in Canada because he works remote. It doesn't matter where he is as long as there's a good internet signal, right? And so he would go somewhere for a house for $300,000, but it's Saskatchewan. That's the problem. So
In between Canada and the States, getting into Canada is a lot easier than getting into the States if you're immigrating from somewhere
The
else.
trend right now, though, is get your PR. As soon as you qualify for your PR in Canada, you get all those benefits and then apply south for higher wages. Right?
'Cause
We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of guys coming from, like I said, Bangalore, which is kind of the IT area in India.
Yeah.
They're coming here, get their PR, and then they're looking at like, okay, I'm going to buy a property. The second my PR hits, I'm buying a property. I'm going to live in that for however long I need to live in it. And then I'm applying to the States because the wages double immediately as soon as I go to the States.
I know an Indian couple, dentists, and they just did all the paperwork in in the US to be able to get their license transferred. So they came here. They were here for like 2-3 years, renting a condo.
So are we
for
a
an
stopgap for people to go to the States? Is that what's happening?
Well, here's
some.
here's
for
another
some,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
I've got some other people that are in areas. I can think of one in particular right now in and around San Francisco. And he's like, it is no longer safe for me to raise my family here.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, God.
I have had probably 3 now Americans that are from the West Coast that are like, we're coming north, and
They're coming
Or
back.
to Austin.
They're immigrating. Well, they're all Americans, and they're like, yeah, we're out of here. We're going north. They just don't like the way it doesn't feel safe. One guy was like commenting like, I don't want my kids to go to high school here because they have like those. I'm not going to say it because we'll get demonetized or whatever. We're almost at monetization, by the way.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
We're gonna push you over.
We're gonna push
you
you
guys are going to get us there. But like we do fire drills. They do other drills in American schools, right? And he's like, I'm just having no part of this.
Yeah. Oh God. Listen, when my kids would come home and the stuff that they would be learning is like insane here. I don't really like the idea that I'm raising my family here anymore, to be quite honest with you. Canada is not the Canada I grew up in, nowhere close.
Yeah.
It's a
What's
very
a better alternative, though?
Well, so this is the thing.
Calgary.
Forget about better alternative.
It's still Canada.
Calgary.
It
Calgary's
might
Canada.
be. No, it might be, but yeah, it's still Canada. For me, it's not better alternative. I can't even think past like I just would love to leave because my kids keep me here. I don't even have a choice, right? And I waited too long, even though we've been talking about leaving forever.
Where? Well, so let's say the
But I
kids
don't
want
know.
to come with you.
I would move to an island somewhere that just had really good internet access.
You would be
I
bored as hell on that island.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
But
Yes, 100%.
I might be, okay?
Maui.
And I've
It's like
never
you buy a new
left,
car, it feels really good.
You're gonna
and then
be
3
like
months later, it's just
but hold on.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Paul Rudd on the beach.
yeah.
You're like, you sound like you're from London.
Listen, if you're in
Just
your
like a
if you're in your
You'd be
early
so much more
20s
relaxed,
though,
Darryl.
I'm super relaxed, man. I love everything about my life. I would just rather not live in Canada. No, you should have seen me 10 years ago.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the Real Estate Video Course. Today's real estate industry has changed, and you can no longer rely primarily on door knocking, cold calling, and geo-farming. While these strategies still work, video provides something that these traditional methods just don't, and that is leads that reach out to you because of you and the message and content that you are providing. I believe that video is king, and that through video, you can leverage your message, create stronger relationships, and become the authority on real estate in your marketplace. The Real Estate Video Course is a 5-part course that will teach you the fundamentals of video, including why it's so impactful, the equipment that you need to invest in to get started, and the proven tips and strategies used to ensure long-term success. So go to videocourselogin.com today to become a true creator, level up your editing and production skills, and develop your real estate video plan to leverage your message to current and prospective clients. That's videocourselogin.com. The link is below in the description, and don't forget to use the discount code TOMSHOW at checkout for 10% off any purchase. That's videocourselogin.com and use the checkout code TOMSHOW. That's TOMSHOW.
I saw that video you put out where it was like a reality show or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
yeah.
flip the
Oh my
house ones.
God.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't take off. You'd be
Right?
perfect
It
for
could have
that.
taken
You'd
off.
be perfect
I
for that.
sabotaged it quite a bit.
I
to be
don't
honest.
think you would be happy. Like TK
That would've
saying,
been the
you
character.
moved to Maui.
I'd be bored.
You would be bored. And guess what you don't want to do when you're in 45-degree weather and there's a beach out? It's like
Work.
Go to
you
the
don't
beach.
want to sit in your office and work all day. Oh, yeah, this would be cool to sit and work while you're sweating. And no,
I have
You wanna
very
be out in the surf.
even for business. Like, I mean, to be here, I had to be in Toronto, but most of the time you wouldn't know where if I was in. What did I say last time? A basement in Panama or like a jail in Panama? Like,
Guantanamo Bay.
For the content you're making.
no, for all my businesses. I mean, for
Yeah.
development, I might have to come in from time to time,
Sure.
but everything else is fully remote. I have no employees here. Like, they're all remote people.
And does anything with this decision have to do with taxes you pay here? Or is it more just all the other things?
It was just
surrounding
always my goal because I always wanted to leave. So
Okay.
I always had a goal of building a company that I could run from a beach. I started in construction. That didn't go so well because it's hard to run from a beach. But what I do now, everything I do now, I could do from anywhere. So but there's people that aren't anchored by their children who have made roots in a city,
Yeah.
right? And so the younger people that are maybe in their late teens or early 20s have like different options now if you're not brainwashed that renting is bad, right? Or that living in Saskatchewan is bad. I mean, there's opportunities.
We've pretty much come to the conclusion, my wife and I, that we're following. Like, chances are the kids stay, probably 50-50. And when they go,
How old are they?
I mean, they're young now, right? They're under 10.
Stay like in BC or
Canada.
Oh, the lower mainland of BC, right? Like
Yeah.
if
because of pricing? and
because of
housing?
price of housing and opportunities and jobs. Like if I was 21 right now, I'd be in Calgary like that.
Mhm.
I'd
Working
be in
on a rig or in a,
doing
in
what-
a hole?
it.
whatever
these
you're
fingers
doing.
don't get dirty.
Yeah, please.
I think there's so many.
No, I'd be
options
working. We
over-
just learned I'd be working for Derek Timmons.
Yeah, we're going to
apparently.
join Derek's team because he's
Selling
crushing it
mines?
so much in Airdrie.
So, but like
Oh,
I just wouldn't. I don't know that I could do it again the same way I did it. Right? I don't know that I feel like I have the same opportunity because Calgary pays the same or more, and their housing is half the price.
He said a detached house in Calgary, the average is $470,000
Yeah.
for a detached house.
And their incomes are
1,700
higher
square
actually.
feet.
Calgary's incomes
And you
are
don't pay
good.
land transfer tax. You don't pay the whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
just
And they haven't even really got into the condo-ish market yet. They're still going
Well, no,
white
it's-
picket
no,
fence
Ontario-
everywhere.
why would you buy a
Ontario people buy
condo
them.
when you could buy a house for $450,000?
Exactly.
Because it's going to sprawl like this and be just as big a pain in the ass as it is here with traffic in 20 years.
I think the generational thing though won't be as bad as we think it is, because like if you go back 30 years and we would say like what was it like for our parents or the people that came before us, Like, I'm sure they would have felt the same way if you said you have to buy a house at 900,000 as your first house, and you have to make.
Well, when interest
only
rates were
this much-
2%, it was still feasible.
No,
I'm
but-
just saying, like, you
I
know,
was
like,
thinking the same thing the other
perspective,
day.
the perspective is that like our kids won't be able to make it. Like, I'm very confident my kids will find a way
For sure,
to make
100%.
it work in Toronto. I'm not saying they're geniuses or whatever. They might just have regular jobs, but they'll adapt. They'll figure out a way to be
But
able
the majority
to
of
live in
people
this
that leave,
metropolis.
like my parents both were raised on the west side of Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right. If they were able to buy a house on the west side of Vancouver in 1977 when they bought their first one in Surrey, they'd be worth 10 times what they're worth now.
But that's a 30-minute move. Like
Yeah.
that's not a
Totally.
big life changing.
But that's not like where you move isn't really the issue. It's where do I want to, what lifestyle can I get for the affordability that I have? And that ends up being probably what most people end up making that decision. It used to be when I got into real estate, it was like, okay, the next step out is Abbotsford, the next step out is Chilliwack, and you do these like leapfrogs. It's almost not, well, it's coming back now, thank
But
goodness. Because
the big difference right now, and it's right. Like, listen, immigrants came in the 40s and 50s, and there was hard times, and they had no money, and things were unattainable.
Yeah.
But now the gap between incomes and cost of shelter is way wider than it used to be. And that's the real screw up in the marketplace right now. And that's why people are looking for these alternatives.
I think our level of expectation is the big thing.
Well, we want to have what our parents had at the very least.
Yeah,
right?
but when my grandfather came over after the war, he ended up buying a property, the most expensive property he could, right? And then he lived in the basement with his family, and he rented out every room as an individual renter upstairs until my dad turned 15 and needed his own bedroom.
So, but throw credit cards and lines of credits and all these interesting financial instruments that we now have at our disposal, and it's a different marketplace back then. So we've had to make all these things that allow us to afford the stuff because the prices went so far away from what we can afford.
the fact we even have financing even at today's rates, 5-6%,
And people
Yeah.
are
It's a
buying.
blessing.
but that's a North American thing.
Yeah.
You can't just go to Europe and be like, "Hi, I'd like I can put 20% down. Give me
5% down, right? Just give me
80%." They're
insurance.
Like,
Give me
get out of the
insurance.
bank. What are you talking about?
I heard
But
that
what
on
are you
your
talking
guys-
about? You have to rent here. Like, you can't own.
Right.
Who were
right?
you guys interviewing on your show that was talking about like, oh, do you guys, they were talking about mortgages here, and they were like, oh, just so you know, in England, the majority of mortgages are interest only.
From landlord?
Maybe it was from landlord. So yeah, it was like,
Was it
yeah,
Avi? Yeah.
so it was like, yeah, they don't pay off anything when they buy a house.
In Mexico, there's no mortgage at all.
There's no mortgages at all.
Right? Like, I have a friend who was on one of our first episodes who, when the flying rules changed, he booked out of here. And he owns a business here, and he still owns it, but he moved to Mexico, and there's no mortgages.
Not only
There's no
that, when you
loans.
get your title, it's like, yeah, let me go get it out of the shoebox underneath
trust
my
that,
bed.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Here's my
That's
title to
really
my
reliable.
property.
But it's attached to the States just like we are. I mean, they're a full economy down there. It's just so different.
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine if you had to actually buy something that you actually had the money for.
Access to capital is what makes it amazing. Abuse of that, like the the Canadian American lifestyle, access to capital is what makes it so good. The abuse or lack of knowledge on how to make that.
Well, the leverage on
fit.
either side can be amazing or
It's
kill
amazing
you.
to me. I
Like,
can go get a $40,000 credit card and a $100,000 car right now in Toronto if I wanted to.
The day after you went bankrupt. No, but for
Nobody
real,
stops
they'll
me.
give you a car.
On both my credit cards, my personal and Visa, I got a letter from them in the last month since everything's changed in the world.
Yeah.
Both saying they were willing to up my limit by like a significant amount. I didn't
Oh,
ask
yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, we probably think you're
We've
going to
seen your
need it.
show.
Yeah.
You're not quite at 30,000 yet.
We're worried about
but
you.
we want to make sure.
And I didn't do either of them,
Worried
but I'm
about
like,
you.
that's interesting timing.
Yeah.
At a point where everyone's trying to tighten up on things and, cancel their Disneys.
No, but this is the whole thing. They want you to spend the money. They need you to spend the money for something that perpetually has to always go up. There has to be ways that people can afford things. And if the price has to always go up, and in order for the people that kind of run the show to be able to afford things, their employees have to make less. Like, there's this weird dichotomy where value went this way, wages went this way or stayed here. And how are you supposed to afford it unless you have creative financing now?
Or family money.
1% or family. But again, this is like
But that's
what
just
percentage of the
positioning, that's
people
luck.
really have bank of mom and dad to fall back on? Like, it's not that big.
I think financing will get more creative. So if we have like 2, 3, 4 units, garden suites, like your grandfather, you live in your garden suite, you rent out the house.
But how
They're
long
gonna
until the sales pitch is that garden suite as part of it to make the
Here
numbers
you are.
make
This is a
sense,
one
right?
bedroom, 400 square foot
Yeah.
home.
When you
This
put
is
the
where you guys
garden
will
suite,
do
you're
your
gonna be
laundry,
okay, right?
and then
cash
the
flow.
house, that'll be for the tenants. Those will be for the people
But are
who
we not
actually
going
have money.
backwards now? It's like now people are saying, can we make amortizations 35, 40 years
50
again?
years,
Isn't that
get
what
ready.
it used to be? And then they brought it back because that wasn't a good thing. And now we're just, I mean, it's just all repeating itself, no?
I think maybe that's the cycle that we go through, right?
Yeah.
It's like as prices get out of reach and people start to take on more debt, they say, okay, let's
Zero down
lower these-
40-year was the
lower
worst
these
thing ever.
payments.
So when did that exist? Because I wasn't selling real estate when that was.
We had
It was
we had that in
pre-
2007 and 8 for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
it was the issue in 2007 and 8 was like, oh yeah, you zero down, no problem. 40 years, no problem.
That's insane. I was thinking of making a reel or I don't post on TikTok or just a 1-minute YouTube video saying how to buy real estate with 0% down. And saying you can't. Thanks for watching. There's still an ad in a parking lot.
but that's not true.
There's lots
You
of creative
can.
ways to do it, but not in an A bank with in your
Not-
own name and everything else.
not
Yeah.
the way that people think.
Yeah.
I 100% financed my last property.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you still have to put money down.
Yeah, you got to pay money down.
Yeah.
You can't buy without money. That's it. Like, you can use other people's money. You can have access
Let me
to capital.
You
segue
can get
that.
paid for putting the deal together and not put in any money.
Let me
Sure. You can
segue
do a
that
lot,
into
trust me.
what.
Well, it's
what,
not, but a
Not with a
simple
house.
homeowner to buy a house
Right.
cannot buy.
Yeah.
So what Darryl
some
always
good
talks
ideas.
about the whole problem is the incentives are wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I have a solution for that. The only problem is I don't think it would never come in. The solution is you make the buyer pay for everything again.
They do.
They
They
don't.
just don't think they are.
Correct. So think about it. If you
Are
as
they
the
really that stupid though? Do we really think the consumer's stupid
The
enough to not
majority-
realize they're paying
not-
the commission even though it's in the
So
price?
that's part of my buyer's presentation. Like I wrap
You have
up
to-
at the end
you
of
have
my
to point
buyer's
that out?
presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you know how I get paid? And they all go, yeah, seller pays you. I'm like, cool. Seller pays me with whose money?
Yeah?
Yours.
You too?
Yeah. What do I
Like
say?
they don't realize
Same thing.
that they're paying the bills?
Well, at the end of the
Because
day,
every
they-
real estate agent makes a TikTok saying, hey, if you use a buyer agent, guess what? It's free. It's like, no, it's not free.
Yeah.
You don't cut me a check.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Right.
it's, yeah.
It's built in.
You
yeah,
paid
same with
me.
the appraiser and same with the
So,
inspection
exactly.
and same with
So
all
for
the...
instance, real estate fees are too high, right? That's the common thing. They make too much money.
For some people, they're too high.
So here, why don't we have some sort of real estate brokerage that works on an a la carte situation?
We do.
right?
We just said this in like 2 episodes ago.
Mhm.
We
Like,
talked
we have a
about
bunch
a
of
different
ideas.
brokerage.
If
Who were
I-
we talking to?
No, we were
Gina.
talking about a different
A
real
new
estate
kind-
board.
real
a whole
estate
new real
board,
estate
and then
board.
it turned into a
But you don't-
brokerage
you don't-
because the board was too big.
You don't have
Yeah.
to be
Like,
on
actually
board.
train
And you don't have
people.
to be a realtor with the TM or the R at the end.
Yeah.
You can have a real estate license, not be part of a real estate board.
No, but
You can
just,
sell.
just think about this
Yeah.
for a thought experiment of
People
like
don't
how
like
a
that.
brokerage could work. It will never. I will go on record. It will not work. But
I'm going to clip that in 10 years.
hey, if somebody can do this, great, because it will bring down costs for consumers. What if the buyer paid their agent by the hour to do the research, to show them the properties, to do all of those things, and then none of that money came from the seller at all? Right? The seller can pay their agent maybe in the same way or maybe on a percentage base. No sellers want to pay anything because they only want if the house sells. So they're willing to pay 5% if the house sells, but not $550 for an open house. Right? So if you broke that down in an a la carte, here's the thing. The buyer thinks, oh yeah, that sounds maybe like it would be a great thing. Okay, at the end of 7 days, here's your bill. By the way, I showed you 7 houses. That was $150 a house plus travel time. And you started
lawyer.
stacking.
Good luck
It's a
collecting.
lawyer.
Good
Yeah.
luck collecting.
Yeah.
I know.
And you have
Trust
to get
me.
a retainer.
Trust me. These
Yeah.
are all things that you
I
would
tell
have
people
to.
all the time, we're very lucky in our industry that at the end of the transaction, we don't invoice the client
Right?
directly.
But the
I
value's
would be
not in
horrible at
showing
it.
them the house.
I had one
you
time-
could show
I had
them all
one-
kinds of houses not in their like,
no. So here's
wish list,
here's how
right?
it's going to go wrong. You don't want to buy this house?
people are involved.
I don't think you should buy this house either. Let's go see another one. And you spend all day with them, and you charge them $100
had
or $200 or $300 an hour, right?
I get that. Is the point of this to talk about how to lower fees? Is that what it is?
I'm just saying there are
I don't know if
solutions.
A better way
lower
of doing
fees, would
it.
just be
It's a
different.
better.
Yeah,
we need a better way.
But so our idea from 2 episodes ago is if it might have been my idea, and I'm
I'm
passing
sure
it
it
off
was
as ours.
probably yours.
But what it
yeah.
was is if there were less real estate agents. If it was a
Okay, so this is where you have to watch yourself.
if there were less.
Yeah, okay.
Especially
so,
trailing Tim Hughes.
So in a hypothetical world that is not this world, that we would never propose that this would be the case, that it would happen.
Good.
So the Competition Bureau never got wind of any of it, and they didn't think we were actually trying to do this. I do think that if you had, now it's going to create another problem, but if you had less agents, that would bring fees down.
Yes.
Because more agents would be able to do more transactions, and
Exactly.
they could do it then for cheaper.
They would say, look, I've got no problem working for X% to help you find a house, because I'm going to do it 30 times with buyers and another 50 times with sellers this year, and I make a good income to bring home to my family.
So the Competition Bureau on the other side of that says, no, more people is more options means somebody will figure out how to bring the price down. So that's what the Competition Bureau
But they've been
thinks.
trying.
Which hasn't
And
really
our
happened.
industry is probably the most anti-competitive industry in the universe.
Think about this. I know you guys have had trouble in Ontario between 5, 6, 4%, whatever the percentages are, and you've seen pressure on fees. In Vancouver, when I started, we do tiered, right? So 7, 2.5 was like 7 on the first 100,000, 2.5% on the balance. Yeah. That's now 7 and 3 in most across most.
It's gone up.
It's gone up. Yeah. So they've brought in another, like our board. It's not a massive board. It was 4,200 people at the beginning of July. It's currently at 4,900.
This is BC?
In 3 months.
Vancouver?
No, this is Fraser
Valley.
Valley. This is outside. This is the suburbs of Vancouver. Vancouver's like another 17, 18, 20,000, whatever. But like we saw
73,000.
we saw a 15% increase in our membership in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity.
Because they all started to get their license when the market was crazy.
That's normal.
But now you're seeing 7 and 3. So you're seeing the average commission to the seller, then to the buyer, obviously, go up by 0.5%.
So it
as
proves
a
our
result
theory.
of more competition.
More people coming in, rates went up. If every agent was out there and they were willing to work a 40, 50, 60-hour week, whatever they were inclined to do, then
if I had 100 more listings a year.
Right. And they did a certain amount of transactions a year, and they took home an income, they wouldn't complain. That's when you have people who have one deal a year, they try to like get as much as they can from one person, and it becomes
But what's the other side of it?
Consumer.
The other side of it is it creates an old boys club, of which is a smaller community which will inevitably shun people out, control the situation. So that's
I get that. That's hard. That's
the
why we were
downside
going
that you would
to
have
create
to
our
try
own real estate board altogether, which was a horrible idea.
A horrible idea.
It was a horrible
Don't
idea.
ever think about splitting off. Do you know? I think it's in Chicago. There's like you have to pay for like 6 different real estate boards to have your listing on, because they can be side by side, but.
We had that for a bit.
The fact that just
in the beginning
that we own Realtor.ca here in Canada, and we're all collaborating and we're all in the same thing across country is massive.
Exactly.
It's huge.
That we're the ones that get, whether we agree with the ads they run on TV or whatever to support us, like that is all us together. We're in the States, they've all been bought.
Is that where our only value is lining up the dates, right? That's their commercials, right? Your realtor would have lined up the dates. Right?
We got calendars, we got digital calendars, we got printed calendars.
Got as many calendars as you need. We're never going to get
We'll even
the
have
date
calendars
wrong.
with our faces on it, and you guys are going to love every second of it.
Magnets.
Magnets.
Oh yeah, magnets.
That's the
magnet
kicker.
calendars.
If I get a magnet, I know this guy's
we
for
should be
sure
sending
legit.
magnets to everyone that comes on the podcast as a thank you.
Yeah, that means you're for real.
I was going to give you $100 each, but he wants to give you a magnet. I'm going to get some more water. Keep
I'm
going.
gonna take a magnet.
In my second year of real estate, and this is probably my fault, but I took clients out, showed them I don't know how many properties, like I don't know 50 or 60, like early days, not really qualifying the best I should have. And I remember at one of the things they're like, yeah, hopefully we didn't ask to see too many things. Say like, we know your company pays you to show us stuff. I'm like,
After
what?
how many outings?
Like, what? After like 25.
Yeah.
Like you think what? You think they pay me to drive you? No. Like I'm an independent contractor, but they had no idea.
You pay me nothing though, by the way.
Yeah.
I charge you no commission, by the way, but you have to buy some.
And I mean, that was probably my fault for not explaining that. I didn't think I had to explain that.
Yeah.
But that was like, oh my God.
Value unarticulated is value unappreciated.
There you go.
Right? Yeah. So sometimes it's about just like telling people, right? I think that's the biggest mistake that agents make would be assuming that everybody knows exactly what we're going to do for them. And the simplest simplest thing to do for somebody, like the most basic thing would just to be explain the process of what you're going to do for them. And they're sometimes blown away. They're like, wow, I can't believe it.
I do a lot.
You're going to refer a home inspector to me?
Yeah. I do a lot of talks to other brokerages. And I asked them once, I was like, put in the chat the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard as to why someone chose not to work with you.
Yeah.
And several of them were like, oh, because they said the other realtor would put the property on MLS. Because they just didn't say that because it was so obvious.
Right?
But they're like, oh, no, we want to go with the one that gets our house on MLS.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that would have been all of them. But they just didn't explain it, right?
Well, and so this is interesting because if I thought a realtor was horrible, there's probably from the conversation like 20 people that would think that they're the best realtor in the city.
So this is a question I have for sure. Why is every single real estate agent almost ever have a 5-star rating on Google?
I just put out a tweet that said 109% of the realtors are the number 1% realtor.
So
it's 100% of the time.
Everybody's top
1%
1%. Come on.
But why is it though? It's because usually the people are so happy with just the fact that they bought a home and their purchase went together, and they're gonna review it. Those are not. I would not 0%, but the overwhelming majority of those reviews are not fake reviews.
No, they're real.
They're
real
legitimate people.
Yeah.
It's not like they're buying those. It's because the person is happy. They like the person they worked with.
Mm-hmm.
They also don't know. We have a saying on my team: we're the best agent that you'll ever work with, as long as it's the second transaction that you've had.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't like if you have my team the first time, you're like, oh,
you're okay.
That's fine.
You know, you seem like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. But if you've had another transaction and they come to us and they're like, my last guy didn't tell me any of this.
Yeah.
Like they didn't show me nothing. We weren't in communication. Like, sure, we got the house we wanted.
Yeah. I like that.
I would be interested to know what percentage of the deals went through that didn't have some kind of fraud attached to them.
Wouldn't we all?
That'd be great to know.
But wouldn't it be harder to actually find that than all the fraud?
I told this story to Darryl not too long ago. I had a guy approach me who was in trouble, and he says, TK, I need to find somebody who can get me a fraudulent mortgage.
Oh, you've had someone actually
He said that. He says, I need someone to go and get me a fraudulent mortgage. And I said, I'll ask around. And I couldn't find anybody. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm just not in that circle. Like, you know, I called a couple mortgage guys that I knew, and they're just said, you know, you go to jail for that stuff. I said, I know.
So I had
what am I supposed to do? Like,
I
don't think it's as prevalent as everyone thinks.
No, it's a very small.
I think in some circles.
I don't think it is.
The realtors aren't involved in it all the time, but I mean,
can I tell you too? I knew more about my clients' financing when I was helping them find rentals than I do when I help them buy properties.
Good point.
I do not see the back end.
Yeah,
this is part of the problem. This is the biggest problem in the industry is that there isn't a mechanism that says they can afford that house. We talked about it the other day.
Well, there is. You have a relationship with mortgage brokers. Our job is to bring them to mortgage brokers.
You don't know when you're working with someone what they can really afford. And when the market's changing like it is now, and they say, don't worry about it.
Dude, you don't get in my car. You don't get in my car. If my mortgage broker, your mortgage broker is like, I don't know.
I would never get in your car.
Thanks. You don't get in my car. Well, yeah,
I've been in your car.
You don't. we don't start the process unless I know.
You have to take an Uber, but
unless I know unless I know what you can afford, and even if you're going to use your own broker and not one of the ones that I know is actually going to give you good advice, but you're going to use your own. Unless I have a conversation with that person, no.
Exactly.
Can I see a house this weekend? No, you can't see a house. I need to make sure that this person is giving you the correct information, and I just think that's where it stops. Most agents don't even know who the broker is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They don't have their email address. They don't have anything.
A little bit different here. So like in Toronto, just because it is more competitive, the first time I'm meeting with someone and I say, hey, I need to talk to the person who's giving you the money or else I won't see you, it doesn't go off very well. Right. So it's a little bit different markets. I'm not saying
I can actually, if you want to talk about that, I can tell you how that goes.
Yeah. I'm just saying that was something that we would always be like heavily involved with. But again, if you were to go into a car dealership and they say, look, we'll show you these cars, but first I need to see your bank account before you enter the building. How would you feel?
Sure.
Right. So it's a little bit like in Toronto, I feel it's a little bit
more.
But we go through that and like that process.
You can't get on a plane without buying a ticket. We can't show you homes before you're
It's
pre-approved.
super easy.
And like for your own good, I don't care really about my time. If you fall in love with something you can't afford and you get upset, That sucks. Why would we want that?
Or the market
agree.
changes
I'm gonna do
and
that
rates go up 4% all of a sudden, and you actually can't afford it.
I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just saying, in order to like build relationships and stuff like that, it depends on who you're meeting. If you're meeting someone who's a referral, it's a different story. This is a relationship you have already with someone, and you can go and say, okay, you know what? Like I get to really come across as being the professional. Exactly. It's like, here we go.
Yeah. But I had an in-depth conversation with my personal mortgage broker about fraud. And he's like, we see it constantly. This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the YouTube for Real Estate video course. Are you interested in creating an engaging, value-driven YouTube channel to help educate your client base on real estate in your market, as well as introduce a new revenue stream to your business? Perhaps you've already created a YouTube channel, but are struggling to gain viewership and the subscribers you are looking for. The YouTube for Real Estate course will provide you with proven tips and strategies on how to create and cultivate an engaging YouTube channel, as well as how to optimize your channel, resulting in higher viewership, subscribers, and yes, deals. But that's not it. I implemented YouTube in my business in early 2021, and it has easily been the best marketing source for meeting new clients that I have ever had in my business, period. Better than expensive geo-farming, internet marketing, and open houses combined. And now it even rivals my repeat and referral business. If you would like to learn all the tips and tricks for meeting new clients using YouTube, simply go to Video Course Login or click the link in the description below and sign up for the YouTube for Real Estate course today. And learn a year's worth of my painstaking research of learning how to use YouTube for real estate in just a few hours by taking the YouTube for Real Estate course. So go to videocourselogin.com right now and use the promo code TOMSHOW at checkout. Again, that's videocourselogin.com or simply use the link below. And listen, here's what it's different. Yeah. But it's different. So he'll get paperwork from somebody. So he gets clients trying to fraud through him without his knowledge.
Sure.
But he's experienced.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many layers. It's like, find me a deal that somebody didn't fudge something.
And also the word fraud is a really scary, terrible word, right? That we associate with jail time and penalties.
Yeah.
To say there's
for a reason.
Not to say there's different levels of fraud necessarily, but there's light fraud and there's heavy fraud.
So it's going to be the loudest podcast we've had. We've just been yelling.
One day the light,
and I got a headache.
One day the light fraud in the public eye becomes not like soft fraud. It becomes, oh, now it's time to focus on this. And then they start digging back to all these people with TikToks and Twitter accounts and YouTube channels saying what, like I'm telling you, it's just, there's a perpetual cycle to this whole thing. And it's like people have been dancing a line for a while around here. Anyways.
I guess if you just have one of those mortgage brokers that's either not experienced enough to identify that they've just received fraudulent papers, right? Like for instance,
but what's his incentive to catch the fraud rather than put it through and get you
your money? If you're a brand new
money?
Mortgage broker, you just got your license. You know, you're like,
my phone hasn't rang in weeks.
And they know what to do too. I remember, so when FinTrack was introduced, what was happening was people were selling properties that did not belong to them. So the homeowner would come back, they'd knock on the door, and they'd say, who are you? You're not the guy I rented to. And the guy's like, who are you? I just bought this house. I moved in last week. And the money was done fraudulent. And they have a lawyer and a mortgage broker and a real estate agent, all from different nationalities who didn't speak like very good English. And they had this whole well orchestrated thing, and they had somebody at the land registry office. So everything was done really well because we had printed deeds and paperwork and all these stupid things that we don't use anymore. And so then they introduced FinTrack.
Just to add, I think FinTrack should be done by the lawyers.
FinTrack is the biggest waste of time. I have not caught any terrorists.
Real estate agents
I've not caught any money launderers.
FinTrack, truthfully,
they're not doing it properly.
Well,
that's for sure.
Obviously,
but who's like, okay,
why
give me your
would
ID.
you?
This looks like a real ID. Okay, I'll put it down.
We're doing what we're told to do. We're putting in the information.
You know what the worst part is
the
now?
bank account number, which
But where's your incentive to catch a terrorist bringing in cash? Your incentive is actually to help him.
No,
but it is.
Your incentive is to help him. My incentive is to wrong number, never picking up that phone. Like if I legitimately think that there's someone coming into the country that could put my family in a legitimate bad spot
These are
some
YouTube
sort of
problems. YouTube problems.
When I say terrorist, obviously I don't mean terrorist.
It's
but
true.
Like, your incentive is to get somebody a house, right? And Maybe
Kinda.
I don't think.
I think that's like a
I think
blanket,
you're
like-
jaded by that.
tell
I
me,
think
yeah.
like the Twitter
Unjade me.
conversation
He's
gets you
jaded
to
for
think
sure.
like that.
I don't
That's
think the
not-
majority of people
Twitter-
are like, oh,
Twitter's
this guy
not
looks
my
super
life.
shady. I hope this deal comes together. That's not the majority of
No,
agents.
of course not. But the incentive is to put the deal together, right? It's not to make, oh shit, this guy's gonna be.
Well, the incentive is to help the person in which we.
I'm gonna
are under
catch the
contract
fraud
with.
on this one. Like I'm gonna get all these guys and get them out of the market. Like that's not the incentive
Well, that's-
for anybody except the police or the feds or whatever. They
Yeah,
don't give
so
a
then
shit.
who should be looking at the stuff?
There
Police
should
and the
be-
feds.
What's
No,
suspicious? Like, give me
100%.
an example of somebody like if they showed up.
But
with
you
a
give it to
briefcase
the
of
realtor.
cash, and it seemed like it was all in disarray.
Not
Yeah,
only that.
I would not deal with that person.
What's the definition of a suspicious transaction now? It's like more than one transaction in a 5-year period.
That's
Is
like
that a
everybody's been doing
definition?
that, right?
Who
Everybody-
doesn't move every 4
I
years?
heel
is
off
the
the
Called
stat.
an
heel off.
investor.
You know,
Yeah.
I got it all going on right now. I mean, I heard someone bought 4 properties in 2 months. They came to us and said, "Help!" And I'm like, "Who told you to buy 4 properties in 2 months? Like,
Sure.
what advice was that, right?" But this is the things that people. Have
I
been doing.
just saved a guy from that. He was looking for. He's like, my mortgage broker tells me I should buy 2 townhouses, live in one, rent the other one out. And I was like, dude, that is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Because that's going to cost you. Let's say that
like
costs you 1.8.
2 negative cash.
You can
flow
buy a
properties.
house for 1.5 and have a basement rental, and you're in a way better spot.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
guy wanted to fund 2 mortgages.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, but now people are making a decision to buy a house, live in the basement, and rent upstairs, so that they can maybe at some point actually afford to move upstairs in
I
their
don't think
own
that's
house.
terrible
But the
because
other-
that's what my grandfather
the other
did in
side of this
1952.
Is
But he didn't
investment.
have to put like $1 million of debt on it.
But I guess relative to his income at the
It
time,
was a $28,000 house, but still.
Who should you get investment advice from? That's the question.
Darryl, Frankfort.
Definitely not Darryl.
Because
But even-
But you'll make money.
I'm not saying a
hey,
real
my
a realtor-
financial planner,
But you
when I
shouldn't
said
listen.
I need to take money out of the markets because I need to put it in the new house,
Yeah.
gave me every reason why I should keep it there until the markets come back.
course
Because
they do.
that's how they make money.
Incentive.
And every human being in some capacity, you can say whatever you want, has some type of bias to their own situation.
It has to
That
be.
is
But-
life.
but-
That's why we're here
The
right
person
now.
that I would suggest you get advice from in every situation is somebody who's doing what you want to do, right? If somebody's doing if somebody's house hacking and you can get some advice and say, "Hey Tom,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got like you're living here and you got this person. How's that going right now? Is that a good idea?"
Right.
And
For
'cause
sure.
your advice is going to be unbiased. A financial planner, sometimes realtors, not all of them. Sometimes mortgage brokers, not all of them. Sometimes your lawyer can be giving you advice that's not as good for you because there's some sort of
Well, it's like
chip
my,
on his shoulder.
So my
right?
accountant, I love my
Yeah.
accountant. My accountant is amazing,
Mhm.
and that accountant shows me the best way to pay no tax,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Or as low tax as possible,
legally.
right?
But
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, but now what if I need to borrow?
exactly.
I have to show an income.
Sure.
And he's
Exactly.
like, my job is low tax.
Pick
I don't know what
one,
you want.
bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Pick
My-
one.
Liability. I'm not worried about
I'm
that.
like,
I'm
I
thinking
need
about,
to draw a wage,
Yeah.
right? And it was like, is it dividends? Is it wages? Is it all these things? I'm like,
Yeah.
I need an income. And he's like, dude, great. Take as much of an income you want. My job, my main, and that's with us.
Yeah.
Our main job is we want to help people get in and out of
get the
properties.
best property for their needs, pay the best price, be in the right neighborhoods. All whether or not they
Close.
should be living in
This-
Canada or not is
You're
not.
so
This-
jaded,
this
man.
also
But it's
goes-
true.
But this goes back to the conversation we're having with more realtors, less realtors.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know
70,000 realtors.
one of
Out
the reasons, though-
73,000, like how many are just like, I got to close
I
something?
know I can give sound advice because, and I say this in like the best way possible, selling your house doesn't change my life.
Mm.
I've made other investments in my life. I've
Exactly.
done well enough. This is another, and again, this
Today.
sound
Look at the
bad.
brag.
Today.
No.
Today.
This is my point from two.
You
Go
get
ahead,
what I'm
keep
saying,
going.
though,
Yeah,
right? It's
for
like,
sure.
I
A
don't-
desperation of
I don't. It doesn't actually mean it's. I run a business. I'm a
Right.
business owner, and I know that my business is fueled through repeat and referral,
Yeah.
which people come back to me, and I do what I say I'm going to do, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
Doesn't change anything in my life. But again, 22-year-old Tom starting
Right.
would have goals of how many transactions he had to do every single week to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many realtors of the 73,000 need to
Right.
survive.
are in that position exactly. And
Right.
so it's an economic issue, and if you can give people enough food on their plate, they will make better decisions. I don't think realtors are bad people. I don't think that the
No,
advice
the
that everyone was
system.
giving was
Yeah.
because they really wanted to hurt people. It was because they were thinking to themselves, when is this ever gonna come back? Right now I'm selling for the first time. Maybe I just got my license. I'm making more money than I ever thought, or maybe I'm not making any money, or whatever it is. That environment that they got put in,
I think
they gave out bad advice because of that.
bringing up the new people into the industry is probably where it is. It should be like a 4-year ticket system like a trade.
I've met some
like a lawyer or
experienced
whatever.
people in this industry that shouldn't get their ticket.
No, I'm just for sure. But I'm saying if you went through 4 years of school to get your license to have the opportunity to maybe sell a house, that's a lot different than, I don't know, you guys are probably a bigger joke than we are right now, but it's like a 6-week course or,
my daughter's in it. It's not a 6-week course. It's actually kind of intense at Humber.
For the real estate course.
Yeah.
No, it's like a 9 month now it takes.
You could probably do
year?
it in 6 months if you really wanted to. She's on a longer program because she really doesn't need to do anything. But
73,000.
there's some intense stuff. Yeah, she's not. But she'll be better than like
you're pointing at.
Not here.
They're all
like than 60
are low bar
thousand of the realtors out there.
Yeah.
But then again, they're learning things that mean absolutely nothing. Right? Like you learned how to calculate a mortgage.
Wells. So much about septic and wells. I can't even tell
but that's
you. It's crazy.
But that's because you're in your tiny little Toronto bubble. The rest of Ontario is all septic and wells. That's a big part of their.
You better know about septic and wells. Yeah, if you're selling.
When I bought my cottage,
that's a great point, actually.
I will.
I hired a realtor in the area that I bought my cottage in because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, you dropped the ball big time, right?
I didn't want to
Especially
represent myself.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So when we were studying together and we were going through things, we came up on this section that talked about like social media, and I was like, oh,
they were like, do what Tom Storey does.
This is not good. No, listen, some people, I guess, had the foresight to check what they can and can't or shouldn't and should do. Yeah. Many did not. But as I read this, I was like, wow, it'd be hard to find anybody that's actually adhering to the way
in Ontario, it's not. Yeah. So, like, for instance, on my YouTube channel, it's structured by the book. And I know it's ridiculous that it needs to be. Yeah. But yes,
how would it be reported though in BC?
Nobody would. The people don't.
Like
care.
someone would have to report you.
Somebody would have to
report
report you.
Like in Ontario.
Somebody would have to report you. Yeah. It would have to go to the board or the governing body of whichever one. It would take 4 years to go through the process. It's all. I just don't want to. I'm probably going to be one of the loudest voices in the province pretty quick, and I just don't want that. So it's like set up. Like I would love my name to be whatever on there, but it's Karrasch Real Properties because I have to advertise under that as my team name, right? Yeah. I have to have my logo on the banner of the, like all those little steps. Yeah. None of that gets paid attention to. No. None of it. No.
But you're doing it because one day,
if
it never comes back.
In case.
I've even got, know that not intended to solicit, blah, blah, blah. That's at the back end of all of our, it's in the description of this.
That's in my standard.
It's at like the bottom of every video or at the end of every video in the fine print at the end, right? It's all that stuff. But
won't stop anyone from suing you one day.
No, it's just a regulatory body. Like they're very like, black and white, right? It's just like they don't really give you a chance. And I love in Ontario, I love it. You have to sign this letter of like admission, like you're guilty, right? It's like they're like he committed fraud, like they use the hard terms, or he misrepresented his clients, and like they did all these type of things. Yeah, like negligence. They don't, like, and then you have to sign. It's like, yes, it was me who did it.
You know what the worst part is with this whole thing is I think the community that we've kind of grown now a little bit here on YouTube is having better and more educational conversations than any of the regulating bodies combined.
Oh my God.
They're terrible.
Well, also a lot of realtors listen to us and have told us how much they're learning and enjoying our conversation.
That's scary.
Same. Yeah. We got a bunch of realtors.
Like, because
commenters are realtors.
I was hired by, I won't say who, but I was hired by one of the regulating bodies because they're like, we love how you explain forms. I explain forms on my channel. It's the stupidest crap. But they're like, we love how you do it.
Boring. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I wrote them scripts so they could do something similar. But when they vanilla it up so much, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we liked you reading them.
Yeah.
But we're kind of like, I didn't get any more content because they were like, we can't actually do this in our way. We can't have someone else narrate this.
Yeah.
Right. But this
is just the privatizing of the industry. Like House Sigma is by far the best real estate app ever created.
I use it.
It's like
I just heard about this. We don't have it. But I just
they do have, I think, a BC version.
So it's coming or it's there. But I just met with somebody from Ontario that's moving. I met them on Zoom this week, and they're like, I'm on House Sigma, and I was like, cool. And then we were going through. Because I always break down commission and all that stuff, like how I get paid at the end of the buyer's call, the whole bit. Yeah. And they were like, oh, no, we can see that. I'm like, there's no way you can see commission offered. They're like, yeah, it's on House Sigma.
In BC, maybe it's allowed to be on BC.
I don't think it's legal.
I've never seen
It's
that.
not legal.
I've never been looking for it, though.
I don't think that's on there.
So that should
So you
be.
think they're
only
not
be
telling you the
broker
truth
fault.
about it?
No,
Or-
she's
No, I
like,
think they're
oh,
just
no, I can see
confused.
that on. Like, she had it open.
Why is that even optional? The
Uh,
split. Why isn't it just a standard split? Like the seller gets this.
Competition Bureau.
Because exactly.
No,
we
but
can't-
this is why.
Because of the
you
competition
can't
bureau.
say this is what it is. There
Yeah.
has to be options
Some
for consumers.
the
No, but it's
consumer is
used
the
as a
seller.
tool to entice other agents
It's
to
commoditized.
bring you an offer
Well, the seller
instead
has
of
the right
other
to say
They're
houses.
they're
pretty
No?
they
much
want.
all this. 98% of them say the same number.
So, but why is it optional? Why
because
isn't
of
it just
competition.
standard?
Because
Then
I'm
the
allowed to
consumers
have,
wouldn't have an option.
I'm allowed to have a different business model than you, and then you only commoditize everybody if they all have the same fee.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
that's a standard fee. I actually have a video on my channel coming out on how BC real estate commissions are the stupidest thing ever.
But when all the data went public on all the sites
Mhm.
and they showed the sold data and everything, there's still, I would say, two things that us as real estate agents know that the consumer doesn't. One is what is the commission being offered? That does not show on anything
How
unless you have
Sigma
real-
apparently it does.
I
I'm
don't
gonna find
think
out.
it does.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think
It
it
doesn't.
does.
She told me what they were.
Maybe the BC ones do.
Or
Maybe
maybe
there's
you-
a different. Maybe there's a different contract they have with
Anyway.
the BC real estate
Anyway.
boards that they're allowed
And
to, but not
then
in
the
Ontario.
other thing
Maybe
it doesn't
on one
show,
it
and
was.
this could change, and I'm curious everyone's opinion, is
Yeah.
when the market was hot and every property would have an offer date.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the broker remarks, which is only for the real estate agents or brokers, it
Yeah.
says offers reviewed on this date. The consumer doesn't see that on realtor.ca or any of those sites.
Yeah.
Now, you could have put it in the consumer remarks, but nobody
TREB
does
won't allow that.
TREB, now, why?
Yeah, we're
TREB,
not
Can you
allowed.
walk me through
so,
why?
so when that whole competition bureau thing was
Yeah.
going on, and TREB was trying to keep all their information private,
Yeah.
they fought to have certain things, and it was based on the protection of the consumers. Because what else is not there is the seller's name.
That's true.
So they
Yeah.
fought to say, look, we'll give you guys all that data, but what's important for the consumer to make their decision, and what is actually breaching the privacy of
I
the,
still
of
think-
the consumer,
But
the seller.
I would say it's important for the consumer to know the house has an offer date.
But TREB, anti-competitive, again, not saying TREB's bad, whoever is listening,
No.
but it's the truth, and that's
It
and
initiates
that's,
a phone call. Somebody has to make a phone
no, it's
call
not
to find
that.
that out.
It's not that. It's the control of the information to make sure that TREB is still in business and that the MLS is needed and that nobody can circumvent the
Yeah.
MLS system.
To a degree,
alone,
I
for
just think
sure,
it was like that whole sold data thing. The part
Yeah.
that was never brought up is they want to publish that on firm. They don't want to publish that on
That's
closed.
the problem. It's when it goes firm,
That's
but
the
it hasn't
whole
closed.
problem.
The money
Yeah.
hasn't been transferred.
So
Is that a sale yet?
No,
I
but
now-
people are using it.
S-
like,
sold
for
signs
media.
up now. Sold
Yeah.
signs up right now,
But as
and your
realtors-
neighbor can look
But
how
as
much money
realtors,
you just
would
got.
use that?
Well, realtors do use it.
Exactly.
Why can't it just say
No,
that
they
it's
just
not
need to have
closed?
a firm. They should have a
I
firm.
think in the States they
not
have that
sold.
on American.
In
like,
Matrix,
boards.
they do. Matrix is pending close.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
really?
don't have
Yeah.
that.
I see. I don't use.
We don't
it.
have
so
that.
Matrix is pending close,
Why-
so you know what the difference is between the two.
Why can't I get a comp on realtor.ca? Like I can get it on House Sigma, but I
You-
can't get a comp
Oh yeah,
for
there's
a
still no
house.
sold
So
data
you
on
can.
realtor.ca. Right?
How?
Yeah.
So our board is opening up sold data now, but they've actually done it a little bit wiser way, which is the concern that we had.
Yeah.
You can see all the sold data more than 12 months old.
Only more than 12 months, but
Yeah.
not less than 12 months?
Correct.
Which
Well,
is
that's
not what the
garbage.
consumer wants.
It's garbage.
Correct.
Seriously.
But
Anti-competitive.
but here's the thing.
3
You
months
should-
ago was
you can
garbage.
get all the sold data you want at Land Title.
It's
Yeah,
true.
you
It's
could
all
walk.
public.
You could walk
After
into
closing,
the
you can get it.
library here.
TREB's-
You got to bring your own keyboard.
Yeah.
You can type in any address and find out who the owner is.
You should
TREB's
never,
data is their own.
Yeah,
You should never have access
I use
to
that
information.
often,
I don't
actually.
even think us as agents should have access to information on a deal that's not closed.
But that becomes
It would slow
a
down our
hindrance.
market.
Yeah, it becomes a big hindrance in the process because one seller has the right to know what their neighbor just sold for a few days earlier because a buyer was out there. So it's like you really are not protecting the consumer.
But that goes to what Darryl's saying. Now we're protecting ourselves
Yeah,
rather
but what
than
percentage of deals that firm up don't close?
this year.
2%?
and it,
No,
but,
no, firm
but
up.
Not even
regardless,
2%.
it was indicative of the market conditions at that time.
2% 's
That
gotta be
price
high.
that buyer paid
less than 1% probably.
was based on an open market. Technically, it's market price at that time. If it didn't close, sure, we would 3 months from now look back and say we're not going to use that, rely on that data.
Would you want your neighbor tomorrow in every situation to know exactly what you just got for your house yesterday? I don't think you would.
As a seller
As a
that was
seller.
not in the industry, no, I would want to
Not
keep
if it
private.
didn't close
People
at
don't even
that
want
price.
signs on their lawn, right? People don't want, like, I have a guy.
Been
What's the
there.
most recent one I've got? I got somebody. Yeah, he was talking about no sign. He's like, don't advertise in my neighborhood. He's like, I don't want anyone to know. Just bring buyers from
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's how some
Well,
people.
I just
right?
bought a house for myself,
Yeah.
And I bought it. It was about to go to MLS. It was coming soon. I bought it the day before it went to MLS. And every single one of my friends said, "What's the address?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Do you just want to know what I paid?"
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to find it on House Sigma because it didn't go on MLS.
Yeah.
But that's what, listen,
Checkmates.
that's what people want. They don't care about your address. They care about what you pay.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's what I asked you.
I told you.
First
But
thing.
that's the thing, right? It's like, that's what people are just curious.
Yeah.
Everyone's nosy. Everyone loves real estate.
Exactly.
Like,
How many views is Tom really getting on his channel, right? Like, that's what it is. So good for you guys.
Final
We should,
question here, 'cause
we
we're
should
going
probably
long.
wrap. We're
Okay,
going like an
going
hour
long.
and
We're at
20.
the end.
This is
Okay.
awesome.
We've been wrong all year long. Do we have a rate hike in December?
For sure.
No.
What is it?
Oh,
50.
Okay.
no way.
I said 100 last week,
A
and I
quarter
got
at most.
destroyed.
In December?
I'm nervous.
For the holidays?
Didn't you see what I put up? No, you're not on Twitter.
Dude,
I browse sometimes.
Dude, get
I
off
just don't-
Twitter, because the people from your Twitter come to my channel to shit talk you. That's how terrible they are. That's how terrible they are. Leave it alone.
Talking about me, though.
Leave it
They're
alone.
talking
Like,
about
how do
me.
we get them? Let's go
Yeah.
every angle they can. Oh,
As
God.
long as they subscribe or follow me. A friend of mine, like, they just did a launch here in Toronto, and it was like line up down the street, and the sales center was bananas. And I put up a tweet
For
saying,
pre-con?
yeah, I put up a tweet saying like, oh, I guess the rate hikes aren't like doing their job because this is a little excessive and exuberant. And it got to a lot of people, this video and this tweet. And actually it got to the owners of the project. They asked me to take it down.
You said, how much was the fee for that?
No, but I mean, this is...
Wait, wouldn't they like the fact that you were showing that?
Eventually, after I took it down, they realized that it was a benefit. But that's not the point. The point is that it happened in this environment.
But that's because that money's 4 year from now money. That's
doesn't
not
matter.
today
They
money.
were dead, bro. They were dead. Every sales center was dead. Like nothing. No one was even launching. Everything's
Were they
how did
priced
these-
really well,
How
though?
did these guys get a...
They were not priced really well, but they were priced fine. These are like top dogs. They did a great job. But the point is that instead of 75 bips, that we got 50 bips, and everybody goes, here we go. That's the signal. Let's go.
100%. It's
And I'm like,
The
uh-oh,
stock market too
it's
this
too
week. Everything with the
soon.
Fed
Yeah.
and the inflation numbers.
It's
like
too fucking
sentiment.
soon. We haven't felt any pain yet.
So there's
We've seen some people hurt.
Maybe there won't be
without
pain.
a limb.
based on actual stuff. So
I hope it's the
Tiff
bottom.
Tiff
but
did a CBC interview like a day or two ago. So he's basically saying that they're going to continue to raise. But I've been wrong every time too. So that's what
In
I'm saying.
December, though, or next year?
I'm not
Were
sure.
you right
He
and
just
got cut by accident?
Yeah, I might cut you out of this whole podcast.
You probably should
Can we work on that?
he puts
we might be able to
a lot of
scale
I
it.
was right. I said I hope it's only 50, but I bet it'll be 75. I
have
had
it,
that
I
one.
have
Yeah.
it. It was in, I swear.
So I'm going to say 0 because I have been wrong every time. But to me, this is what I feel. I feel like right now they want to see how things go. I think next year we'll have more increases. I think long term they're going to push it a little bit more, but we're almost at the terminal rate, which is what Tiff just said. And I think that in December they're going to give everyone some nice.
That was my
holiday-
original
holiday
guess, was
spending
like,
boost.
we're done by the end of the year. And I was taking shit from everybody when I said that. And now it looks like maybe I might have been right. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be right. It affects me negatively. My house is going down too in value. We talked about it yesterday. Like, my neighbors sold their house for a lot less than I paid for it recently. But like, the market hasn't actually corrected yet. The malls are still busy. People are throwing money around. People have 2 jobs and their one job doesn't even know about their other job. And they're working maybe even less hours than if they went to an office and worked one job.
Can I
Like,
tell you something really funny? We have a doorbell camera, and the property we're currently sitting in, I'm about to put up for sale, and we get like notifications when people walk by. And there was a video I looked yesterday, and it was a dad and his daughter, and they walked by, and the dad goes, "Dad, can we buy this house?" Like literally points to my front door, and the dad goes, "If I buy that house, you'll never see me. I'll be working 3 jobs." Like he was making a joke to his kid, and I got it on my camera.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's
Wholesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
right?
But like said that to his kid, and like,
Yeah.
you know, this is and the price of this was the average sale price essentially in Toronto is what this property will sell for.
Yeah.
But it's not ultra luxury. It's not crazy. It's in a good neighborhood. It's nothing crazy.
No, but it's, I mean, it's more than the
But that was-
average
that's
price
more than-
in Toronto.
But that
which
was
is a
his
lot of money.
thought is just like, oh, well, if we buy that house, I'm getting 3 jobs.
Need to get 3
Set
jobs.
to his child.
Yeah. Well,
Especially if he only has 1 job right now. That's quite the statement. If he had 2 jobs and he needed a third, it'd say, okay,
Well, where
yeah,
do
it's a
they
little bit of
live
his
now?
budget.
I don't know.
But I
If
mean,
you
walking
had no
distance.
job,
where must
that
they
would be
live
even
now?
worse.
Like they must be in a
Maybe
condo,
renting,
right?
renting nearby.
renting.
Renting nearby.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We should probably wrap this because I
what
don't
do
know
you
if
think?
all my
Wait, you're not off
videos
the
are
hook?
still
What
recording.
You're not off the hook.
Oh, okay.
Steve, come on. This is,
December,
we're recording
rate
this. This is going to be
Oh, what
online.
do I think is going to happen? I'm leaning towards 25 because I think they want to keep it going, but they want to slow it down. The smart thing to do, I think, would be to wait until early in the year before they do another one, because there's got to be some sort of finding out where we're at. We don't know where we're at.
Mhm.
Our condos in my market are almost every single sub area increased in value last month.
And we won't know
For the
where we're
first
at
time
for a
in-
few months because I mean
gotta
we're
wait.
still feeling the
We're
first
doing the
rate hikes,
rounding.
no?
I think
We're
maybe
doing the
we felt the
rounding right
third
now.
We've had a
one
flat
by now.
fall.
Maybe the third one,
But
but
we
there's
got 3
like
more to catch up
5 more.
I love how they
Did
were
we
like,
do 8?
in the news, they're like, we're finally going to
6?
see that soft landing. And I'm like, have you guys looked at the chart? This does not define a soft landing. That is a pretty hard landing.
It's a hard landing. And we've
No, but it's
leveled out.
Toronto and Vancouver, the hard landings. The rest, it's like a blip. Like if you go down
It's true.
in Saskatchewan, if your price goes down 15%, it went from 280 to 265 or something, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know what the math is, but like inconsequential. But in Toronto, like that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's
Officially our longest episode ever.
500K. Ever.
We had a feeling that us four would find a way to talk.
Yes.
It's because we've had our best looking guest ever, TK. And
TK's
but
here.
Daryl's been here
TK's
too.
here.
But
Yeah.
It's
I'm
good
here
that
too.
TK on the main camera is blocking a bit of Darryl. I
That's
think.
good. Yeah.
that's actually why we structured it.
I'll say on the
that
record,
manner.
I think it's gonna be 25, but I'd rather.
Oh yeah,
it
I
be
guess we
0.
should ask him what he thinks. Eh?
I think it'd be 25, but I keep
Can't amend
hearing
that now.
from people that I trust that they've never raised it in December in the history of Bank of Canada because of the holidays. So
We've heard this, but we don't have the
we have
again,
no data on
imperial data on that.
that. None of us have actually Googled it to find
Yeah,
out.
No,
Someone's
I
doing
went
it.
back the last.
But don't
10
worry,
years.
rates will be low for a very long time.
Yeah,
You
fair
can
enough.
buy it. Oh,
So
man.
I think 25. All right, that was fun. We'll do this
Thanks,
again.
guys.
Yeah.
That was
Absolutely.
awesome
Look
to do
forward
it
to
in
it.
person.
We'll do it
if
in
you haven't
BC.
already checked out your channel, and you don't know who these guys are already, where do they go? What's it
links
called?
down below in the description for whatever they're about to say.
And if you're listening to this because we brought you here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe with these guys too.
Canadian Real Estate Show.
All your commenters
Just in
will be
case.
down there. Anybody you want to
Biggest
say
team
hi
up
to
on
down
YouTube.
below in the comments? Anybody?
We already said hi
Particular one?
to
We said hi to Trent.
Trent. Anyone
Maybe
else?
Urban Zen Girl's probably watching.
Yep.
Love her. Who else do we like?
Awesome.
There's lots
We
of
like
guys.
everybody.
Who else do we
Everybody.
like?
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna share this on our community tab on our main channels as well.
Yeah.
And so we'll
Nice.
ask you guys to do that on yours so that it gets to everybody.
You have to teach us how.
We'll
but
teach.
sure.
I'll show you literally right after
Cool.
this. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
This
for
was
watching
fun.
and listening, and we will see you next week.
Good
Bye.
Hope the audio worked out because we screamed for an
Screaming the whole
hour.
time.
This is a good setup.